Well, hello once again. I'll tell you what, boy, these various parts here to this series are just tripping right along. Last time we left off with this line right here untested, and I had not yet installed the resistor here. Now, one of our good subscribers, Clock Watcher, I don't remember seeing him before. He may have been watching all these years and never made a comment, or just suddenly appeared on the scene. But either way, it's good to have you around, Clock Watcher. And he said, look, John, you know, you really probably, you don't want to be putting, when you put your resistor in, remember now, we just got that straight line, that straight wire in there now. That's just, there's no resistor in that line at all right now. I was going to go down here maybe and stick it down here, coming off the plate of the 24 tube, which is the automatic volume control tube. I figured I'd stick it right in there. And I don't know, Clock Watcher either heard me say that or was concerned that I would do that, you know, put the resistor, you know, clear on the other side of the chassis from where it was originally. He said, you know, if you do that, what'll happen is, let's say I put the resistor over here somewhere. Let's say I stuck it right there, okay? All this wire here would become part of that coil. He was right. I hadn't thought about that, okay? And he said it would interfere with the I don't know. He said it might interfere with the tuned circuit here, which would be the I guess it would be this capacitor and this coil, because this here is already, you know, this is tunable here. Well, that made perfect sense to me. And he said it might, you know, the reason the resistor was up in here, I think he said it was because it might have caused, if they took it out anywhere else, like way down in here somewhere, it might have caused parasitic oscillations. I'm not so sure about that. You know, 1931, I got to tell you, I don't think they even knew what parasitic oscillations were, and I don't think they even had a way of measuring it. I could be wrong on that. But I do know that he is right. We do not want the entire length of this wire to become part of that coil, okay? So, I went ahead and soldered it in right there where it comes out of the coil. This wire's inside that coil, inside the center of that coil. I soldered it right there. And there it is. Let me see if I can find it here for you. Where is it? It's here someplace. There it is right there. Okay, I soldered it right up close. Now I haven't put the heat to the shrink tubing yet. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I just clipped the wire a little ways away from the terminal. I didn't want to mess with that terminal. I just clipped the wire, made my coils, and soldered them up. And when I get my heat gun, I'll just push this up like that and shrink that down. It'll be well protected. Okay. All right, that takes care of that. Many thanks to Clock Watcher on that. I appreciate him bringing that to my attention. I hadn't even thought about it. All right, the next thing we're going to do is the last wire here. We got everything done now. I'll tell you what. Let me see. Do I have my orange marker with me today? Yes, I do. I brought my orange marker. I'm going to go ahead and color in. We're going to color in that resistor now, okay? That baby's in there. All right. That just leaves us with one bare line. This one right here. Now all I have to do, Gordon Cole, you know, he offered his observations. He said, you know, if you just touch here, the plate of this 35 tube right here, and measure down through here, over to here, and through this coil up to this plate, if you get continuity, that means that line's good. He's exactly right. So I'll tell you what, let's measure from pin 2 on the first detector over to pin 2, which is also a 35 tube of the IF amp. All right, let's do that. Let me see, I got my multimeter pretty well set up here. I'm going to set it up. Here's pin 2. It's 1, 2. All right. Now we'll set our multimeter up for 200 ohms. Ought to do it. If not, we'll go higher. No biggie. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't read right the first time. All right, now what we have here, this is the first detector, and this is the IF. And if I touch this pin 2 right here, pin 1, pin 2, I should get a reading. If I do, then that means that wire is good. There it is. She's good. Reads 90 ohms. That's good. It's reading through both coils. All right, I'll tell you what, let's move on to something a little more, well, something that might be a little more interesting to you. Those of you who keep up with all my videos, you know, on both the mishmash and, you know, the radio restoration and repair videos, you'll recall that the last mishmash video, I discovered that the signal strength meter on my Hammerlin HQ129X was inoperative. It was just sticking all the way to the right there. And let me see if I can zoom in and kind of show you. It really kind of, I tapped it a couple of times and it came up, but then it just like stayed right there and again wouldn't do anything. So I don't know. I turned the compensator, that's that thing right there, and adjusted it around. It didn't do anything. It didn't change it. It didn't change the volume any. We have a problem with that thing, okay? Now what that means is I'm going to have to go into the schematic for the Hammerlin HQ129X and look around and see what I can find. Well, you know, I'm thinking to myself, boy, this would be a great opportunity to take some of what we've learned up to this point. You know, all the folks now, you know, let me say one more thing about, I always use the term young people into the hobby. I'm not talking about age, you know. A little while, you know, one of our good subscribers, I'm a junk collector, you know, he said, hey, you know, he went into this rant. He got out of the wrong side of the bed one day, and he went into this rant about my comments about, you know, talking about young people. They don't care about any of this, you know, not like me when I was a kid, you know. They don't do this, they don't do that, you know. Me, I'd go around the block with my wagon and collect junk, you know, and, you know, I'd walk to school 38 miles each direction, you know. It was uphill both ways. I had no shoes. And the deep snow and all that sort of thing. Anyway, when I talk about young people into the hobby, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about folks that are just now entering. You know, age has nothing to do with it. You can be 8 years old, you can be 80 years old. I don't care. It's young people into the hobby. Anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, hopefully those young people into the hobby who have been following our series will be able to apply some of the things that I've shown here to the schematic for the Hammerlin. Let's get that schematic out and take a look at it. Well, there it is, the schematic for the Hammerlin. And now look how busy that thing looks. You know, of course it's real small and jammed together and everything. If you blew it up, it wouldn't be quite so jammed together, but there's an awful lot of stuff there when you compare it to something like this. You know, you're looking at Major League here, you know, Major League over here versus Bush League over here. But, you know, some people might say, I could never figure this one out, you know. Even though I'm watching along here, I don't think I could ever figure that one out. It's just too much stuff there. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, because everything I've shown you up to this point is exactly the same. I don't care how busy the schematic is. I don't care how close the lines are. You can only follow one line from point A to point B, whether it be from the top to the bottom, from the right to the left, or the left to the right, or the bottom to the top. It makes no difference. It's always one line from point A to point B. So don't you be saying you can't do something like this, because I'm spending a lot of energy here to show you how to do it. It's exactly the same for both. Now, it took me a while to find that S meter, that signal meter on this schematic. You know, when you have one that's this busy, this small in particular, of course when you blow it up it's a little easier to maneuver around it, but you still have an awful lot of things here. So it took me a while, and you know, you'd have to do the same thing. Hunt down the meter. Well, guess what? I finally found it over here. There it is, the S meter. Okay, right there. And you'll see that there's a wire coming in from the right and a wire coming in from the left, and it's going through the coil on the meter. Just like right here. A wire coming in from the right, wire coming in from the left, going through the coil on the meter. Same. You see, it's exactly the same. Now, we come over here. Now, this tube, this 6SN7 tube, feeding the meter, It comes off the plate, which is pin 5. Now I've changed the 6SN7 tube with a known good one. It made no difference. Everything still stayed the same. The meter doesn't seem to be working the way it should. Okay, now that leaves us with this resistor. Comes off the plate, comes across. We have his resistor, another resistor, and another resistor, and another resistor to ground. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 resistors we have to look at. I've also tested the resistance of the coil inside the meter, and that reads good also, about 1100 ohms. We also have one other thing here. This is called a meter adjust. And what it is, it just feeds the grid into the tube. Now this whole thing, all of this, I'm going to test each of the resistances on here. I'm going to take, I'm going to remove some of the one ends of the resistors. We're going to isolate them. And the whole thing may wind up boiling down to me replacing these if they're a little bit out of tolerance. Be a good time to do it. But it might just the end problem may just be a sticky needle in the meter, okay? But I want you to see, if you could just follow your lines, everything is the same as what I've been showing you. To a resistor, resistor, through the meter, resistor to ground. Same old, folks. It's not as scary as it looks. By the way, there's one other thing I might have to check. You see right here I have a little, now this could be my problem, and I'll tell you why. The BFO switch, it's the manual and AVC. I didn't start having my problems. I went to the BFO for a while to try to tune in some single sideband, and when I flipped back, that's when I've been starting to have some problems with the meter. I could be having a bad contact right there. I'm going to have to, I don't know how that would affect it, but you never know where these wires go. They go every place, all over this entire thing. I could follow it out forever. But I'm going to go ahead and make sure that that switch right there is also all the contacts. This is one of those wafer switches, okay? I'm going to make sure it's all nice and clean. So, okay, not as scary as it looked to begin with, does it? Simple stuff, just what we've been going over. All right, let's go ahead and color in our orange line down to this point right here. That just about takes care of it all, with the exception of the things marked in green. This green capacitor here, and I guess that's about it up here in this section. Just that green capacitor. And I guess that's about it. Which is located, by the way, inside this box. Okay? Alright, so I could continue on testing this line all the way down to here. The problem is the choke is out of the radio. And the electrolytic capacitors are out of the radio. And the field coil is out of the radio because it's part of the speaker, and they all connect into this line further down. So, essentially what we have here is just a dangling wire. We'll worry about that one later. Right now, I'm thinking about going ahead and installing these 5 resistors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where the candome resistor was, that we now have this mounted terminal strip. And let me show you what I found. These are the resistors. Now these are going to be 5 resistors. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can see, the terminal strip is not long enough. I need some space between these, okay? Well, what they say, if it can go wrong, it will. The terminal strip I bought and put in there is too short. So what do we do now? Well, I told you right in the beginning, you must plan ahead. Always plan ahead for these things when you're doing them, A little forethought. I figured I might be having that problem, so I bought another one of these, and I cut it down, and I'm getting ready to glue it in. And it will glue right here at the end, just like I did the others. Okay? Now I've got plenty of room for my little resistors. Okay? Alright, I will glue that in. Next time it'll be in there, and we'll go ahead and install these resistors in the same order that they're on the schematic. That's it for now. I hope everybody learned something new again. If not, well, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best here, guys. We'll see you next time. Until then, this is John. Almost forgot. One more update on the old side project.